Hello, hello, welcome to the Shy Peace Show. I'm your host, Dr. Peter KB St. Jean, live here in Chicago at 1309 South Wood Street in this wonderful city of Chicago. Let me again remind you, you're watching the show, the Peaceful World Movement Show. This is a live call-in show, and you can reach us at 312-738-1060. You can visit the Peaceful World Movement at P.O. Box. We have 11451 South Michigan Avenue, P.O. Box 206308, Chicago, Illinois 60628, 312-716-603-0992, www.shypeace.net. You can reach us here at the Peaceful World Movement. Well, I'm here, a new look this time. Just went over to India over the last few days, over the last 11 days I think we spent over there, and decided to try a new look here. And with this first show, just introducing the Shy Peace Show, we have a lineup coming up. Today I'm just going to be with you myself, and we will have later on various persons will be joining us for the next 12 weeks or so for the rest of the year, every Wednesday night right here at 6 o'clock p.m. on our show here, right here at CAN TV. Soon we'll be joined by Deepak, who was one of the members of an organization called From India with Love that hosted us in India. I'll have the opportunity to talk with him, and he's going to give you some insights of the trip that we had over there. Deepak should be calling us in anytime soon. But let me just give you a recap to remind you, tell you what the Peaceful World Movement is about and what the Peaceful World Movement is trying to accomplish. It's a non-profit organization that is registered in the state of Illinois. Our building is located at 11451 South Michigan Avenue in the community of Roseland. We actually are in the process of still getting our building renovated. There's still some zoning issues that we are addressing. But meanwhile, we have been doing work in different parts of the city, in different parts of the world. We have a program that we called it's a program that I developed that is called Better Me, Better You, and we work with Gloria Walsh in Dominica with the Love One Teach One Foundation, where I teach young people with a team of people, teach young people issues that are relevant to building quality of life. I want to remind you that we're live here, and you can call us at 312-738-1060. In about 2 minutes or so, we will get a call. I should be able to get a call from Deepak. He's now in Houston, Texas, about to board the plane. So he'll call us sooner than later to try to have as much of a conversation as we can have from him about this trip that we just came from in India. It was a summit on countering violence and extremism there, and we were able to interact with persons from different parts of the world who were interested in working one way or the other in building a more peaceful world. As I indicated earlier, I'm Dr. Peter KB St. Jean. I am also the chairperson of the Department of Sociology and the Director of Criminal Justice at North Park University, Chicago. I am also the Director of the Criminal Justice major in the School of Professional Studies at North Park University. And I look forward to having a long series with you, different conversations, different guests that we will have with us, and different topics. The main question for our show is, how do you contribute to a more peaceful Chicago? And we look forward to having your calls. I'm also streaming live on Facebook for those of you who are following Dr. Peter St. Jean, over on Facebook. So hopefully soon we'll be getting a call in. But for those of you who are here in Chicago, I just want to begin. To those of you who are watching, how do you contribute to a more peaceful Chicago? I know that there is the news. When I was over in India, I left on the 24th of the 26th of September and came back there on the 8th of October. And we had various issues, including the controversial shooting case that was in the city. We have issues of violence and peace that consumed our city on a daily basis, that require not just discussion but action plans. So hopefully throughout this series we'll be able to have discussions about those about those undertakings. But one of the things I want to do, just before Deepak hopefully calls us here in the next few minutes, one of the things I want to do is to talk about that trip that we just returned from in India. The whole idea, I went to Bombay, India. We also, well, Bombay, that used to be called, well, Mumbai, that used to be called Bombay. Sometimes when countries are independent and want to divorce themselves from the history of colonialism, one of the things that they have to do is name changes. So, Bombay, you may have heard in old history books or in movies, we call the capital, that major city, now called Mumbai. So we were there in Mumbai from the 28th of September until the 1st of October, when we went over to Bangalore. And then I left on the 3rd and from Bangalore, India, went to Chennai. And the host at Chennai, Deepak, who is going to be calling in, hopefully in a few minutes, will give us a sense of... caller, you are on the air. We have a caller. Caller, thank you for calling.
Hi, Peter. This is Deepak.
Hi, Deepak. Thank you. You called right on time. I know that you are awaiting a flight from in Houston. Thank you so much for calling us. I know you have a few minutes with us while boarding. I don't want you to miss your plane, so I will kind of stick right to it. Can you tell our viewers, welcome, first of all. I don't think you've probably been live on air or on screen on a TV show in Chicago before. Is that correct?
I haven't, and I'm very excited, and I'm glad to be joining you on the show.
Awesome. So tell our listeners and viewers who you are.
Yeah, my name is Deepak. I work for Apple in my day job. I manage silicon for them, but I also am one of the organizers of the World Summit on Countering Violence and Extremism that Peter was a part of. And I work with the International Association for Human Values, and they're From India with Love initiative.
Yes, so Deepak, one of the things I was just telling the viewers is that I just came back from the trip to India, where we were over in Mumbai, we went to Bangalore, and then very importantly, I spent time with you and your family in Chennai, and there I was very impressed, maybe above everything else, that there were some great things that we encountered, but talking to the young people in the school, asking them the question of why isn't there even more violence in their community, in the school, and the responses is one of the things that really stuck out to me. But tell me, why did your organization decide to, although we were talking about issues in the United States for the most part, and other parts of the world, but why India? Why was it good for us to visit India?
India it's an ancient country, and there's a lot of knowledge in the country. In some ways, perhaps India herself can use some of her knowledge that she's perhaps forgotten. But today, India's knowledge is more relevant than ever. The knowledge of nonviolence, ahimsa, as we call it in India, the true knowledge of ahimsa is more relevant than ever before. And I know we spoke a lot about it, how ahimsa or nonviolence in its true sense, it's not about non-resistance to anything and everything, but it is more about acting from that space of love and compassion. And if that space of love and compassion warrants us to take a stand and act with force, so be it. But this knowledge of ahimsa, where it allows people, it allows you and me, it allows our law enforcement officials to act with a sense of compassion towards everybody and themselves, I think is extremely important in today's world.
Yes, thank you, Deepak. Some people never heard of the word ahimsa before. And I must admit that until I had a conversation with Munda, who was one of the organizers, who was actually a chemical engineer with Shell, who decided to do a change in his career path or in his life path, and now that you were collaborating with him on this effort to be able to put this effort together. And I've actually never heard of the word ahimsa. I heard of the word, but I never really delved into it with much depth until I heard from about it in the conversation with him. By the way, how are you making out with your plane? We still have a couple minutes with you, or you got to run away?
I know I still have another 5 to 10 minutes, so we can talk.
Okay, good. So one of the things we did is that we visited various shrines in India to be able to, well, not shrines, okay, visited some temple. We visited the first home location where Dr. Martin Luther King actually spent some time when he visited India, when Gandhi did. Can you give our listeners a little bit about the names and the places that we visited after, the U.S. Embassy and so on, and why was it important to visit those places?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. So one of our intentions was, when we, took all these amazing people from the U.S., Australia, Brazil, Argentina, Germany. And so, we had about 35 people from all these countries come to India, and they were from different demographics, right? They were law enforcement officials, police chiefs, they were mayors, they were professors like yourself, researchers, people who run NGOs. And our intention was to foster a dialogue, foster an open conversation so that we can strategize about how we can reinvigorate the values of compassion and nonviolence in our world today. And to aid in that conversation, we wanted to see if we can dip into the culture of India. When Martin Luther King visited India, many years back, this was in the 1960s, and when he went there, Gandhi was already dead. But when he came back after his trip to India, he was a completely changed man. And his commitment to the ideals of nonviolence and compassion were stronger than ever before. So our intention was to see, can we have a little bit of that experience that MLK Jr. had? And so in that effort, we all of us, as you know, we visited the Gandhi Mani Bhavan in Mumbai. This is, an amazing place. It's where Gandhi spent a big chunk of his life when he lived in Mumbai. When Martin Luther King landed in India, that was the first place that he went to. And he said, I'm going to stay here because I feel the spirit of Gandhi in this place and I want to be in communion with it. And so he passed up on staying in 5-star hotels. He passed up on staying in nice places. And he slept on the floor and slept in that place for multiple days. And it truly seems to have changed him. So that was one of the places we visited. We also visited the Chabad house in Mumbai, which is the home of one of the oldest Jewish settlements in India. So not a lot of people know this. For over 1,000 years, there have been a Jewish population settled in India. And across the world, India has been the only place where the Jews have not been persecuted. And when Israel was formed as a country, the first thing that they passed in their parliament was thanking India for how they treated the Jewish people. Now, this is something to learn for us, that how can we integrate the sense of acceptance in every community that we go to. So that was the intent of going there. And we had a soulful evening with the rabbi talking about how even after the Mumbai terrorist attacks, where the Chabad house was attacked, they're coming back with an even more determination to counter darkness with light, which was, very much in tune with our visit. We also visited the Jain temple the next day. The Jainism, not a lot of people know this, is a religion, an ancient religion in India, and you can think of them as the original thought leaders of nonviolence. And so there's a lot to learn from them. One of the great apostles of Jainism, he's called Mahavir. What that literally means is the great warrior. He's called the great warrior because he won the greatest battle there is to be won, which is the battle within, the internal battle within our own ego, with our own self. So there's a lot to be learned from the Jain people. And of course, during our visit in India, we also went through a beautiful process and learned some techniques that will help us stay grounded, stay with our own minds, some breathing techniques that you yourself you also were a part of that sessions that we went through. And the reason for this is this: unless we have peace and compassion within our hearts, we cannot bring it outside. And until there is violence or unrest within us, it is going to manifest outside, either against somebody else or against our own selves. So self-compassion and self-care is the step number one for us to transform our societies into non-violent and peaceful ones.
Yes, Deepak, so well said. I know when you leave, luckily this is being recorded live. It's being streamed live as well, and after we are done, you'll be able to view this, so persons can review. Because as we continue to speak about issues relevant to Chicago, violence and peace, and the rest of the world, I really want to talk about some of the experiences and the lessons learned from India, the same way that Dr. Martin Luther King, and the same space that Dr. Martin Luther King occupied. How are you doing now on time? Time to run away now?
I still have a few minutes. If you can have me on the air, I can chat.
Yeah, good. So tell us then, when we sat in that room, I have to tell you, man, I have, and when I was in the military and in other parts of my life, I have engaged in kind of low-lying levels of meditation and yoga. But it seems that the brand of meditation that we were introduced to there at the hotel when we were in Mumbai is something different, not just simply meditation. What is that? Am I right in this, or is this just all meditation is meditation, or were there some specific techniques that were geared to allow us to have certain type of introspection?
No, that's a wonderful question, and especially in today's world where there's so many different techniques, and when yoga and mindfulness has become a buzzword, it's important for us to see, what takes us really within. And I have been a meditator since the age of 11, and I've explored different techniques, I've explored different paths. And the technique that we learned when we were in Mumbai, it truly, it's one of those special techniques that would take you very deep inside, so you are in touch with yourself. The name of the technique, if you remember, it's a Sanskrit word, it's called Sudarshan Kriya, which means the action that will take you to have a proper vision of your own self. Now, until we are in touch with ourselves, we cannot be true to ourselves, we cannot be at peace with ourselves. And that is what we experienced that day. If you remember, at the end of the breathing technique, a lot of us, shared that, I felt that I wasn't even there. I felt immense amount of silence, immense amount of peace, and that a few minutes where we can experience that silence within ourselves is the best thing that we can do for ourselves, because it is in that time that when we heal, there's a lot of trauma a lot of us go through. That's the time when we can convert that, let that go, heal. That is the time that we can, we can let the creativity flow. We can have new insights blossom from within. So, it's one of, I don't want to say that this is the only right technique or, this is the way to go, but I know this works. And this works for all kinds of demographics. We've taught this in schools. I have been a part of teaching this in prisons. We've taught this to veterans who are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. So this definitely works for people of all ages, all demographics, and especially if we are looking to make a change in the world of conflict resolution, to bring to stem violence. I think this is one of the most powerful tools that I have personally come across.
Yes, can you, before you run off, can you remind us to our viewers and give a shout out to let people know some of the other individuals and organizations that are represented there in India?
Oh yeah. So first of all, I would be completely remiss if I did not mention Mandar Apte, who you already mentioned. Mandar has been a great inspiration. He was the cornerstone of putting this entire trip together. And he started the From India with Love initiative, where which was inspired truly by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s visit to India and how the transformation set off and impacted so many thousands of people. And apart from that, we had representatives from the Police Foundation, in the U.S. We had representatives from LAPD. We had representatives from the Washington, D.C. Police Department. We had representatives also from the city of North Miami. And of course, from the Institute of Nonviolence in Chicago itself. We had we had a couple of beautiful souls from there. Norman Kerr, who ended up becoming a good friend of yours, and also Angelica from Chicago as well. So we had a wide range of people representing, and it was such a learning journey for me. And I learned so much, especially from you, Peter, that we need to spend days sitting down and talking about what we learned from each other.
Right.
So I'm very grateful to have had your company during the trip. And, I want to let you go and continue your show on, as I'm going to board now. But, thank you for having me on your show.
Yes.
And, I can't begin to explain how amazing it was meeting you and how much I learned from you.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Deepak, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for taking. Go ahead and go to your flight. I'm showing on the web now. Deepak has this big smile across his face. What did that shirt say? Happiness is what? On the shirt you wore on. You remember that? No, he's gone? All right. Well, so this is Deepak here. Happiness is something. He had this cute shirt. Hopefully, maybe some of the show, sometime later, we'll show Deepak and this amazing shirt he had, this happiness, this big smile on his face, as he's affiliated with an organization that is associated from India with Love that uses some techniques. We also visited the Art of Living, where Shishi Ravi Shankar is the head of that organization at the ashram. And there we learned about other ways. Actually, one of the leaders in the breathing technique that he advocates, and the way of peaceful living, a guru that is associated with happiness. I had the opportunity to be on stage and to meet personally the guru himself and to ask questions to him in person, and then ask questions to him before a crowd of thousands of people on just the night before, on the night of the 2nd of October, which was the night of the 149th anniversary of the birth of Mahatma Gandhi. And in fact, it is mentioned because in India, the birthday is seen by some as differently. So we might say it's 149th birthday of Mahatma Gandhi, but it actually is the beginning of the 150th year. So basically, because the anniversary, the birthday is celebrated in some instances for the entire year, it is the beginning of the 150th birthday, right? So it depends on how you look at it. People look at things in different ways. Again, let me remind you that you are looking at the Peaceful World Movement show, the Shy Peace Show put forth by the Peaceful World Movement. I'm your host, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean. You have 1 minute, an opportunity to call in to say anything you want to say after having heard Deepak speak here. And I want to thank Munda Apkre for organizing the trip with actually beginning the organization from India with Love. Mandar, thank you so much for that, and for being persevering throughout to allow us for different parts of the world to visit, and for Deepak himself serving almost like a consulate, helping us with our various visas to be able to make it to the country. I met from the time I got there, I met Felicia, and I met others who on the flight, Norman Carr, who is here in Chicago, Angelica. Hopefully I could have them join me on this TV show so we can share our experiences in India in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, I'll have both Norman and Felicia share that journey with us. And I think it's very important for us to look at other practices in other areas as we continue to try to create a more peaceful world here in Chicago. So as I wind up, I'm your host, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean, here at the Peaceful World Movement Show. The Peaceful World Movement, again, you can find us over at 11451 South Michigan Avenue in Chicago. You can go to www.shypeace.net and find us there, and you will see us. You can see our recorded show on cantv.org/online. And thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Deepak, thank you, and thank you for everybody, all of the persons, even if I mentioned your name or not, hopefully I'll give you a shout out later on for joining us in this trip in India. Until next time, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean, signing out.